Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to another episode of Football on the Know Show. I am Jim McPhee, and right there is my compadre, Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Jimmy? And what's going on, everybody else? What's up, know-it-alls? You know what it is. You know what time it is. Dude, it's so exciting. Football's right around the corner, y'all. It's right here. It's within our grasp. But before we get to that, we got to do some fantasy football drafts, right? Everybody's jumping into that right now. And just a matter of a couple weeks, guys, we're talking kickoff. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait to see everybody's, and anybody's opinions on their team going into the season. Drop down in the comments down below. We are absolutely going live here. We're streaming. Want to hear from you guys out there as well. It doesn't have to be about what we're going to talk about today. However, we do want to hear from you guys. Let us know what your record predictions are for your team. Or we have a couple of topics today that sprung up today and has kind of blown up the internet, and it all circulates around our favorite league, Jim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, which one are we diving into first, Joe? I mean, there's a bunch out there circling around. Let's take a look at the Pro Bowl. How about that's the freshest one that's out there with everybody, right? Finally, there's no more Pro Bowl game, no more flag thing, no more these competitions. And we knew it was a long time coming. A lot of people weren't watching it anymore. Wall, right? They switched the dates to try and finagle it here and there and everywhere. Every product they put out there was terrible. Even when we asked to bring back the competitions with each other, like, oh, cool, at least we get to see, the quarterbacks, this guy versus this guy, and then it'll be fun like we used to see Peyton and Tom Brady and everything. Nope, they even botched that. Still, they decided to put wide receivers throwing the ball at targets. Like, I want to watch that, and then what was it, a dodgeball game? Like, seriously, like, give me a break, man. And then switched it flag. Like,
it just
I was done a long time ago.
It really does. And then we switched from no contact really to flag football, because flag football has been on the rise. So NFL wanted to kind of tap into that dynamic, and oh my God, absolutely terrible. The guys that are playing don't play anymore. They're really not. They're kind of going through the motions, and I'll let this guy score. I'll let Jamar Chase score. Like, it wasn't really physical or challenging or even like entertaining, because that's what it's supposed to be about, is entertainment. You want to see the all-stars, in the AFC play the all-stars of the NFC, and that's what kind of made it alluring. But we're just not getting that anymore. The NFL recognizes that, and they've seen the dip in the ratings. They've seen the decline in the in the population attending. So it was just a matter of time. We saw the writing on the wall. It's time to pull the plug on this thing. Let's let it die when it was supposed to die like a few years ago. But now they've moved on. They decided to eliminate the Pro Bowl game completely, and now we'll only be celebrating the Pro Bowl selection. So, they're still going to be, you're still going to have your Pro Bowlers and all that, but now they're going to celebrate it. I'm going to think more likely for the award ceremonies that they have for player with the most sacks and all that. We see the ESPYs and all that. So I'm assuming they're going to kind of incorporate the Pro Bowl selections now into that award ceremony. So, Jim, all I have to say is thank God we finally got rid of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's one thing, I like the whole awards thing, because that's what the thing was about. These guys are the best players, or at least, even with voting with fans still. I think they should now. I mean, is that a thing now? Are they going to get rid of fan voting? Because I think that's the best thing too, because then you're going to see probably the best players voted in then too, because that's what it's about. Cream of the crop, best players throughout the season. Here they are. It's an award. There they go. Or you see it on the plaque, whatever. This was this year's Pro Bowl, because we saw it just diminish when they moved it before to the week before the Super Bowl. Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of before in my life. Like, that would not make people watch in the first place. And now the players like, all right, well, now it's in between the Super Bowl, I'm definitely not playing. You know, it's like, are you serious?
Exactly.
Like, just totally ruined it for everybody.
Not to
But
mention the guys that deserve to be in the Pro Bowl decide to
yeah,
opt out because they got a
yeah,
game. They
yeah,
got the Super
yeah,
Bowl to go
they're
play.
gonna, yeah, yeah.
So,
And
and
I
then
feel like,
you had these like little like, oh, participation trophy, like, oh, you can come to the Pro Bowl. Shador Sanders was in the Pro Bowl,
yeah,
guy
yeah, yeah. And he's now not the
played.
starter of the Cleveland Browns, by the way. So there you go.
I mean,
Right.
after that's what the Goodell's like, okay, we're at the meeting. All right, so what are we gonna do about this Pro Bowl thing? How are we gonna kickstart this thing, guys? Come on, ideas. Well, I got one. How about we just get rid of it because Shador Sanders was in it? I mean, that's
Mhm,
it. That's it. Drop the mic. We're done.
mhm,
Okay, all in. I am done. We're done with it.
mhm.
So absolutely crazy.
Right. But part of me feels like this was just like they were biding time, because how many years have we been talking about adding games,
More and more
adding
games.
international games,
Hmm.
how far are the playoffs going to go, this
Hmm.
and that. And I think they were planning this for a while, but just kind of dealing with the grief for a bit of everybody like, oh, the Pro Bowl sucks. You know, they saw that they weren't generating anything out of it. They had to do something about it. And they were like, all right, well, we got to get these other things in place. We need to get the, 18th, week going, more games added before we can actually get rid of this. And now that they're
Hmm.
moving forward with this, and now Roger Goodell again has flat out said, yo, it's coming. This only made sense that now it's kind of shuffled aside. Oh, here goes a Pro Bowl now. And it looks like a good call by them. But I think seriously, it's not like a knee jerk reaction this year. We got to figure it out. I feel like it's been kind of in the works. And then now finally it's come to fruition.
Yeah, like I could see it both ways. Like I feel like this wasn't something that they predetermined 5 years ago. I feel like as it got closer, maybe they started having conversations behind closed doors, like, okay, well, how are we going to keep everything that we have and add the international games and add more games to the schedule? Well, something's got to go. You can't just keep adding and saying, oh, we're still good. No, something had to go. It was the Pro Bowl. That's the first thing to go. Next thing that we're going to kind of have to keep an eye on too is like any alterations to the schedule to make these international games kind of, work and try to make them work in a way to where it's almost seamless, so because like you're going to have to give ample time to these teams and these coaches when they come back to kind of recalibrate themselves to get back into civilization in the states and try to kind of get ready to go and be normal. So it'll be interesting to see what else is going to change. More things are coming. It's 100% more things have to change, but this is just like the kind of like the stepping stone right now of what is already kind of changing the universe of the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it made no sense having those playoffs being as good as they are, and then a week lull in between where they're like, all right, we're going to get this
Oh,
one crappy game
terrible.
on the
Oh, I
weekend, or,
hated that.
and then you're going to have the Super Bowl. So it was like, this makes no sense to any business,
Right.
especially the NFL. They're like, let's have a down week right before the big, game. That sounds a good idea.
Yeah,
So now they're just going to be
exactly.
like counting them. Like, here we go. We're going to have this many games lined up. It's going to be beautiful.
Right.
So they're going to
I was
sell the package to everybody. So
Yeah, I was actually expecting the Pro Bowl to be moved. We were hearing rumors about maybe they move it back after the Super Bowl. But I'm just glad they kind of got rid of it because it was just nonsense at this point. So now
mhm.
we get rid of it. We move on. We're going to see the award ceremonies or whatever, however they plan on celebrating Pro Bowl selections. But we'll see next year how it all shakes out.
All right, excellent. All right, and next up, again, in these owners meetings that pop up, these guys talk about a bunch of different things, and now the NFL once again changing,
More
putting the
changes.
hammer down.
That's
It's not safe enough.
throwing the book at you.
Players who commit 3 violations of any of the 5 categories here: the hip drop tackle, horse collar, launching, hit on a defensive player, and then also we know the blind side block.
Yeah.
Now we'll be suspended 1 game if it's 3 times in a season. So let's break this
Mhm.
down a little bit, Joe, and then your
Yeah.
opinions on this.
Yes, sir.
So I guess when I've looked at it here again, they're focusing on player safety. I get that and all, but we
Safety.
know it's about money, and it's going to be hard to like the officials for me. The ones that are going to be the hardest is defenseless player
Mm,
and the blindside block because those are called.
right.
I swear, like 3 times, at least in the game.
Mhm.
Each
That's what it
probably
seems like. Yeah.
because a defensive player seems to me again, it's all point of view or what they think, or even it looks like a vicious hit. Boom,
Right.
there it is. And the same
Mhm.
thing for the blindside, almost a blindside blitz, but the blindside block. How many times is a blindside block when a guy's just like hit from the side and the guy's like, oh, like this, and then falls down? They're like, psh, and they're so amped up. We got to bring the kick return back. We got to bring this. Well, that coincides like right with that play. So I'm afraid that that's just going to get called multiple times. And now you've got these guys that if they, get suspended, they have to pay this fine and they
Mhm.
have to go so many games without it. And then they have to see a therapist afterwards, no, all this stuff. We go to a meeting, like I got to go to, a defensive player hits anonymous and coach didn't have to know about this and go, I got to get therapy. It's just insane to me.
Yeah, you're implementing all kinds of everyday business, theatrics now. Like now we're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna be safer, guys. So this is why we're putting this rule in place. And by the way, um, feel free to share your emotions and your feelings after you get suspended with our very own NFL therapist panel on hand. Um, Talk about what you're feeling, what you're going through, your struggles, this is absolutely crazy. I understand that you want to enforce these rules that you've already categorized as illegal. When 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, this stuff happened all the time and it wasn't a penalty. Like you're talking about like the horse collar got invented because Terrell Owens got injured and blew out his ACL from it. You know what I mean? Then they implemented the horse collar
Mhm.
thing. Then the hip drop tackle recently happened. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, you can't tackle like that. Like, what do you mean? We're playing football. You tackle however you can get the guy down. But now we're entering in an area where there's already rules that are handcuffing defenses. You can't hit the quarterback on the head or below the waist, and you can't hit his arm either. And there's all these stipulations now that defenders more like defenders have to adapt to than offenses and offensive players. That now we're implementing on top of all these things that all these rules they have to follow in game week to week. Now we're just adding a little bit of sugar on here and saying, you know what? How's that taste? Because now you have to worry about any one of these categories that you get. If you get 3, you get an automatic 1-game suspension, and it can be any one of these 3. It doesn't have to be 3 in the same category. It can be any one of these. So, uh, and it like you mentioned, Jim, you brought up a good point where these are gray areas. The referees are very free to throw the flag as soon as they see a devastating hit or something that might have looked like a blindside block, but it was real ticky tacky, but we're going to throw the flag anyway. Now, this could lead up to suspension for these guys. Anytime you do this 3 times, whatever the violation you do, now you're getting an automatic suspension and a fine and all these criteria afterwards that you got to follow leading up to maybe even at the highest level therapy, which is insane to me. So um I don't agree with the direction they're going. I understand they want to kind of implement and come down harder on these type of violations just because they see the game as more safe. And I get it to a point, but it's football at the end of the day. Now you're really starting to we're changing the landscape of the NFL yet again with Goodell as the commissioner. He's done how many rule changes since he's been at the top? And it's altered the game. You talk about the kickoff. The kickoff is no more than basically a glorified kickoff scrum. It's basically what it is. It's like rugby and the kickoff mixed together. It's weird.
Mhm.
No one gets excited over that. So
Yeah.
and they want to and they want to also kind of, pat themselves on the back when they're like, oh, look, the kickoffs are up 42%, whatever the hell the number was. I'm just kind of going off here.
Right. No, I
But
hear
it's
you.
only because you have to return it. So
Yeah.
now we're in a
Yeah.
spot with these violations that it's like, dude, really? We're doing something out of the ordinary all over again?
Oh yeah. It reminds me of and I think again, sorry, no offense, but girl math again. I've heard this
That's what I
term
use, actually.
before. Yeah. It's like when Governor Hochul said, when you guys have to cross the George W. Bridge, they wanted to raise it to $12, right? And now she's like, oh, we're gonna charge 8. So that's gonna be, like it's gonna, you guys are gonna save $4, so that's gonna be savings and put money in the taxpayer's pocket. It's like it wasn't even 8 before. We're not saving any of that. That's just invisible money that you're talking about. So
Right.
they're talking about players will get financial incentives for this. So oh, okay, as a player who receives a fine for one of the 5 outlined offenses will now be eligible to receive 50% of his money back. Oh,
Mm,
well, thank you. That's amazing. What a great deal, right? And
right.
and then they're like, and for a single violation to also too, if it's not in one of this criteria, these 5 that are
Mhm.
specified, but something else, you might actually even receive the full refund at one point. But we're not going to disclose that and specify which ones, by the way. So it's
Right.
really suspicious and all that. And they even say right now it's within a year you can get that 1 game suspension, but they're saying the suspensions carry on to next season if they implement this again after this season.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what is that going to in turn that these now are going to start to multiply? And what
Yeah.
will we see out of that? So again, it's word salad. They're trying to trick you in this whole thing here. A lot of it has been ticky-tacky, called a lot. So are we going to get some of those refunds back? But still, the league's going to get 50% of it or whatever. So they're getting something still. And the hip drop
Yeah.
tackle and they didn't last year. Wasn't last year they were supposed to crack down on that? I didn't
Yeah.
really
Hard.
see it called at
Yep.
all. Did
Yep.
you? I'm like, all of a sudden,
No.
yeah, we're all like, yeah,
I
man,
mean,
that should get called now. Oh, here it is. So now are they going to do it more now? Now the league's
yeah.
like, you guys didn't really call that enough. So now we're going to have to put something here because now we need to get something for that. Like, seriously.
My question is there any kickback to the referees to call it more? Because like there's fines involved. You know what I mean? We don't know. Just saying, like it just I mean,
So
we've
that's
seen
their
a
bonus.
drastic increase of flags being thrown every single season. And obviously, like the fans at home, like us, we were watching the games. We love this sport so much that like you can't fool us anymore. Like we know what a holding is. We know what holding is. We know what pass interference looks like. We know what
Well,
well,
no.
no, I won't say all of us, but some of
No.
us know what catching is.
Yeah.
So like there's all these instances that happen during a game that it's like, dude, what are like we lose our minds when we're watching football and we're like, how can you call that this or that or you that was too close? Like, how could you even throw a flag? Because it was, 50-50, so there's gonna be a lot of issues with this, I think, going forward. And you're right. Like now that the fact that it can carry over to future seasons is wild to me. So like
Mhm.
none of these reset. Let's just say I perform a horse collar tackle on somebody last season. Then this season, I do something again like a hip drop tackle. They call me for it. And then I do a hip drop tackle again later on in the season, right before playoffs, by the way. Last game of the season, I get called for a hip drop tackle. That's 3. Now I'm suspended for what? The first playoff game? Are you kidding me? When our season's on the line? This is going to cause a lot of issues. I really do think that this is one of those type of rule changes that they're going to look back on in a year, maybe even 2, and say, we got to alter this because things are kind of going off the rails.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how much that is called during the season. You never know. They say they're doing this, and none of it really comes down. But now we're talking some money
Yeah.
here, so
Right.
we'll follow that closely we move forward to the upcoming season.
Want to hear
But
from you
still
guys
no
too.
fine.
We
Yeah.
we talked about we
Yep.
talked about the Pro Bowl, how that's gone. Are you guys for it, against it? Like, do you not care? Oh, and the same thing with what the NFL is
Like,
doing with
nah,
the
we
with
don't
these
give a shit.
violations and enforcing them. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Do you want them to just take out Roger Goodell? Feel free in the comment section. Let us know.
Roger Goodell dunk tank, at least. We should have at least had that, in the Pro Bowl games. Like, geez, come on, man.
Right.
Seriously. Let's have some fun. All right. So, second chance now for NFL players to go back to college football and play. So, this has been a bit of an uproar again, where
Yeah.
and again, and in NCAA getting backlash here and there, and then now the different collegiate divisions are stepping up, and they're
Conferences.
speaking
Yeah.
out against this and saying, no, we're not going to have this, we won't do this. Sending up and saying, no, we're not going to allow this, at least where we are, and we're asking everybody else to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where, like, I thought someone was trolling. When I
Mhm.
honestly saw this first come out, I'm like, all right, who's the smart ass that posted this and trying to get under people's skin. And then, like, Adam Schefter reported it, Ian Rappaport reported it. It was everywhere. And
Mhm.
this topic of pro football players, or actually pro athletes, because it's not just football, it's
Yeah.
also baseball and everything else. So colleges are college in the NFL. I don't know if there was a conversation between both leagues or something like that, but it seems awfully funny how all of a sudden this sprung up and nobody heard about it until it was put out in the public. So um, n- they're both allowing players that came into the league early into the league, like their first year, if they're not going to make a team, for example, like there's a couple players already. Daquan Wright is kind of like the first guy that most likely he got cut. He went through waivers. Now he's deemed as a free agent. Yes, he can sign with an NFL club if he chooses to do so, but now they're allowing someone like that to go back to school and play another year in college. When you've had NFL training, you've had NFL coaching, like, I understand you're not too far from when, it's only a year from when you were in college, but still, like, this seems a little ass backwards. Now we're going to allow you a second chance to go back to any school because you're basically a free agent,
Mhm.
and go play for 1 year. Let's just say LSU, because we know that was one team that was kind of put out there as maybe going after Mr. Wright, and he's going to play a year. But here's the thing: you can't re-enter the draft. There is
Mhm.
no going back into the draft for the
Yeah.
following year and see if you can kind of up your stock or anything like that. You're still seen as a free agent. So you can sign with another NFL team as soon as your college season is over with, but that's it. So
Yep.
what's the point? If you
The
can't make it in the NFL, there's other leagues that you can go to
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
still have a chance to maybe come back in the NFL. The Canadian Football League. Like, hell, we've even seen Kurt Warner play in the Arena Football League and come and make it to the NFL and have a pretty good career. So I don't agree with this. I think this is ludicrous. It's ridiculous. It doesn't seem to make any sense. And now a couple of conferences already have responded. You were talking about the Big 12. We're talking about SEC. That is where LSU is, by the way.
Mhm.
They both have made it publicly known that we are refusing to allow any pro athletes to come back to college and play. That's two conferences that have confirmed this. I
Mhm.
guarantee you that the rest of the conferences are going to kind of follow suit, and this is not going to be happening. But the fact that this has kind of spawned up and it's led to a lot of controversy, Jim, I gotta say, I think this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
I just can't believe that the NCAA kind of went with it. And the only thing I see it from a player's point of view. why not? Like if you're a college, if you didn't make it in the NFL, sure, why not go back to college to where NIL deals are pretty sweet right now. So if you can work your own deal here and still get paid to play college football, and you think you can still be effective and even be one of the highlight players for that team while still going back to college, that's more money than what the UFL is going to pay you, or like you're talking about arena or the Canadian League. So
Canadian pays
obviously
really good.
For the player, I'm sure he wants to try and just get a sweet NIL deal and go back. But we've seen players go back to college to get degrees and stuff like that. But it's the fact that playing for the teams, hasn't been a thing. And I agree with what you're saying, though. I totally do. But just looking from a player's point of view, that's the only thing here that makes sense going forward for them. It's like, well, I could probably get a pretty good NIL deal here and I could play for this college and blah, blah, blah. And then again, still look good for this team and go back into free agency again, not be able to be drafted by a team. But I think players would like that better, though. If you're a free agent and get to pick what team you kind of get to go to, if somebody wants you and you get to walk in and try out for a team, they would rather do that than enter the draft. And again, maybe the Jets are a number one again, or the Cleveland Browns again, and they're like, no, I don't want to go there. So it makes all sense for the player, but just not so much for the NCAA or fairness among the whole college football.
The one thing that I'll say about that is you're messing up the NIL thing, because if you're let's just say you played in the league for 1 year, you didn't make the team, whatever the case may be, like Daquan Wright right now, like he was a draft pick, didn't work out, he's a free agent now, he goes back to school, and let's just say he gets a, I don't know, $2 million NIL deal. That's taking money away from other athletes that you could otherwise lure into your college for the next 3 years to 4 years. That to me is not a good, smart business move. So I could see why a lot of colleges are pushing back on this.
Yeah.
The conferences are independent from the NCAA. So yes, the NCAA is the head of it all and kind of is like the umbrella company, but the teams and the conferences have gotten together, and you can clearly see how they think this is just not good for college football. And I mean, I get it for the player.
Yeah.
Of course I'd want to go back to college and party and play football. And you know what I mean? Like that, of course that's alluring, and to get paid for it. Hell yeah. But it's just not reality. Come on. You can't go backwards. Now, for a guy like Daquan Wright, he is young, he's talented. It didn't work out with the respected team that he was on. That's fine. You can go a different route. He should have other interest. Who knows? By the time we're done talking, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, Daquan Wright signs a 1 year deal with a different NFL football team. And this isn't even because things are changing now, right? So I think this is kind of one of those things where, like, it's a flash in the pan. You're seeing the response from conferences and college teams that they don't want it. So this is kind of, it showed up. It was a cool topic to talk about, but now it's over with already in the next 24, 48 hours. It's just going to be done.
Yeah. Again, it's like, what was the point of it happening? Like, that's what I mean. It's like, it's like, it didn't make sense. Like it was going to go further. And so, I mean, it's kind of funny. But like, hey, we're going to try to do this and make this eligible. It's like, okay, well, we're not going to do that. So there you go. I'm like, okay.
But that's the funny thing is I feel like the NCAA gave it an option, and they're like waiting to see, okay, let's see how they respond.
Yeah.
We made the decision. We made the decision. Let's see who takes the bait.
Yeah.
That conference says hell no. That conference says hell no. Oh, this might be all for nothing.
Yeah. Right. Let's see who does it. Oh,
that's right.
If there is one, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, wait, now, like, see, somebody's going to do it, So,
yeah, definitely. So, all the know-it-alls out there, we really do appreciate you viewing, watching from wherever you are. We're on all the socials. Follow us, subscribe on YouTube, like the video, the whole deal. And also, we want to hear from you guys. So, drop down in the comments. We're going to be ending the stream, but drop down in the comments. Let us know your take on all these categories, all these things that have popped up today. It's been absolutely crazy. We're going to dive into it next week. We're going to have a special guest on here. our boy, who's a fantasy football aficionado. So if get your fantasy football questions ready for next Wednesday night, because we will have him on. His name is Iggy. Great dude. Knows a lot about fantasy football. He's a professional. If you got any questions, whether about be rankings for certain players or just when I should take what position, drop them down in the comments. We'll ask them.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for us. We'll see you guys all in the next one.
Later, guys.